Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports. Like, my name's Chad, taking diving in the world of sports. And yes, I'm still sick. I love this time of year and what temperatures like to do a little roller coaster where I live at. As now we're starting to get a warming trend. Get a little Mother Nature sometimes. But this is going to be my pick and preview video for the college football national championship between the TCU Horned Frogs and the Georgia Bulldogs, the Frogs versus the Dogs. Who is going to lift that trophy and be the number one team in all of college sports? But before we get into that, I kind of get a little go back at the previous games, the semifinals, kind of get a little recap on those, version of my picks, and just kind of see how things go. But before diving all that, if you could go ahead and smash that thumbs up for me, especially like content provider, really please you two guys for help promote the channel out. You can also subscribe. I love you guys for viewing my work. I love you all for doing that. And let me subscribe because do a dime. That's me before I have more time value for you. You tell I'm still fighting the sickness and trying to go through there, so you might see some really bad editing coming up. Forewarn you now. But before I dive into all that football action for Monday night, let's go ahead and travel back to what happened last Monday, where Damar Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest. Had to be resuscitated on the field. Come to find out, he had to be resuscitated again as soon as he arrived to the UC Medical Center. In a statement released by the Buffalo Bills, he has had significant improvement. The father of Damar actually spoke with all of the Bills and said he's doing a lot better, which I think is something the Bills really need to hear to move forward in their quest for the remaining part of the season. The NFL still has yet to decide if the game will be made up. I do not think it will be, but I'll give that more into my preview video for Week 18, and continue to support Damar in the ways that you know how to support, and hopefully he pulls through at the end of this. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the two matchups between TCU and Georgia. Now, the semifinal games between Georgia, Ohio State, and TCU, Michigan were really good. You know who's going to win. There was no blowout, which I think a lot of people were kind of thinking it was going to be. Not going to be a pair of shootouts. I mean, Georgia had to come from behind to beat Ohio State, which I think that was how that one was going to play out, the way both those schools were playing. Now I thought Michigan TCU would be really good because I know TCU got overlooked a lot. I didn't overlook them. I didn't think they'll beat Michigan. But they ended up beating Michigan 51-45, and like I said, Ohio State fell to a comeback by Georgia, 42-41, to set up this unlikely pairing. TCU, who has been underrated the entire season, was not even ranked in the preseason bowl. Now they're sitting SoFi. Fell short of the Big 12 championship, losing to K-State, which I did call for K-State to beat them, so that's because K-State was never one of those schools that no one kind of took seriously either. It's like for the Big 12, TCU, Kansas State were the big three that were coming out of that conference, and no one took them seriously because they weren't Oklahoma or Texas. And I think that's kind of the blinders that all of us have when it comes to college football. We tend to don't look away from the blue bloods when it comes to college football landscape. If it's Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, USC, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Notre Dame, Miami, Florida State, I mean, those, Clemson, those are the schools you want to look at first. And then you start looking at some of the other minor schools in that area, like, Iowa, Wisconsin, Oklahoma State, LSU, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. You're not looking too far beyond a certain scope of programs. So then when you start programs that do really well, you tend to look at a different direction. Because if TCU was in a different conference, would they have gotten in? If they were still a Power 5 program, would they have still gotten in? I don't know. But that's really beside the point. That's more, kind of, doing a little debate and see, if they were playing somewhere else, would they still got in there? It's just one of those weird aspects when it comes to that one. But TCU being pretty much an underdog, or overlooked, not really underdog, overlooked. Let's just put it that way, overlooked. They're being overlooked now. Georgia's favored by 12.5. What have you seen by Georgia that leads you to believe that they're going to blow someone out? I mean, they blew up Mississippi State, which is not saying much. They took out LSU by 20 in their SEC title game. Georgia Tech was a pushover. TCU is a lot better than all those programs. They struggled against Kentucky, only beat them by 10. They struggled against Missouri, had to come from behind to beat them. So Georgia is not all powerful, and there's TCU. TCU had that stumble against K-State in overtime, but they were battling ever since. I mean, they battled Baylor right down to the wire. They battled Texas down to the wire. They battled Michigan down to the wire. Like I said, these are two very good programs, eerily similar. What are you talking about? They're pretty eerily similar when it comes to this. Looking at the stats, they pretty much both average about 40 points a game. TCU 41, Georgia 39. So an even on point score. So offensive-wise, they look, and scoring, they're pretty decent. It's the defense is going to be a key factor in this game. TCU averages 25 points allowed. Georgia, just under 13. So how are they going to necessitate this type of thing? Because you look at the two quarterbacks. Duggan's had the better stats. Who were 35 yards passing, 32 touchdowns, and only 6 picks. Bennett, 3,800 yards plus passing, but only 23 touchdowns and 7 picks. So Duggan's slightly better because he gets more touchdowns than Bennett does, and Duggan was not starter. He actually lost his starting role. You look at the running attack, it's more towards TCU. Miller, almost 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns. Where McIntosh is almost 780 yards and 10 touchdowns. I mean, everything that points to this TCU offense just lighten up Georgia, and I think that's what we're going to actually see. Because the TCU puts up 474 yards total yards per game. Georgia almost 495. When you look at yards allowed, Georgia on average is below 300. Georgia's defense is going to be tested against this offense. There's no question about it. Can the Georgia defense withstand this type of aerial attack? You saw what they did with Ohio State. Ohio State is a very aggressive offense. And Georgia hung up with them and actually was able to finally to corral C.J. Stroud and corral that offense of the Buckeyes, and their defense stepped up to the plate. Then their offense started clicking. Bennett, being the veteran that he is, he's been down this road. Remember last year, they knocked off Alabama SEC championship game. Then they lost them in the championship game and then beat them in the rematch in the national championship. They know how to come back from adversity. These are two very well organized schools, two well organized teams, key players in all the key positions. I mean, this will be an all-star showing for the college football playoff. But who I think is going to win this game I think it is going to be Georgia. I think it will be Georgia Georgia will repeat as national champions, it won't be easy. It's not going to be by 12.5. It's going to be by 3. TCU's going to come at them hard and surprise them right in the beginning and probably take a huge lead. Probably go up by like 21 to nothing. Before Georgia got realized, okay, what the hell just happened? They'll just finally wake up and go, okay, we got to start playing. And they will. TCU will make some mistakes. Georgia will force some turnovers. The party still have a 21 or 24 to 14 lead at the half. You know, I won't be surprised if they were tied at 31 or 34 at heading into overtime. I think it's going to be one of those type of weird games where whoever has the best opportunity to step up to make the play when they need to make the play. Georgia proved that against Ohio State. Ohio State had them on the ropes. Georgia came back. Missouri had Georgia on the ropes. Georgia came back. Yeah, I know using Missouri as an example is not a good idea because it's one of those games they should have blown them out. But you got to take into account that you don't know who's going to show up when in terms of these games. So, you know, any positive spin you can take on that, you got to take it. TCU on the ropes against Kansas State fell apart, but they were battling with Michigan right there with them, exchanging blows. TCU was a little bit better. But TCU's been in a lot of tight games towards the end of the season. But it kind of shows, you know, the offense struggles, but the defense steps up, and then they just find ways to win. And that's all that matters. Find the way to win. Just win, baby. But like I said, this one I think is going to come to a 3-point victory. It's going to be Bennett establishing the drive that put the game into the kicker's leg. And like Ohio State, Georgia will actually make the field goal, win the game. Like I said, probably in overtime, 37-34, 34-31, 31-28, something along those lines. But I think it's going to be like that. And Georgia will be back-to-back national champion. And TCU will make the Big 12 stand out a little bit better before the Texas, Oklahoma leave for the SEC and be irrelevant once again. But that's my pick. Sorry about the voice. I kind of see it going in and out throughout this one. You gotta love these. 'Tis the season for colds. But hey, just let me know down below what you really think. Do you think Georgia has a really good shot of repeating? Does TCU have a shot to beat Georgia? It upsets everyone. I think they do. I do, but I think they will fall short. Let me know down below. Once you're down there, once again, you can also hit the thumbs up. You can also share this video with your friends and family. It helps promote the channel out. Once you subscribe, make sure you tap the bell and turn on your notifications so you know next time I post any more content on my channel. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.